Welcome to the Home Building Hub, your essential podcast guide to building your new home. Hosted by industry experts Colin Bischoff and Darren Brennan, this conversational podcast will help better educate you about all things new home building so you can avoid costly mistakes and enjoy your building experience to the fullest, no matter which home builder you choose.
Hey there, folks. Welcome to the Home Building Hub. You are with Colin and co-host Darren Brennan as always. Today, guys, we're going to, give you a bit of an understanding of a really difficult part of the process, and we're going to educate you a little bit on how to compare builder quotes and to do that properly. Now, it is a bit of a complex thing, Darren, isn't it? Building quotes and how to review them, and something you and I have done probably literally 2,000 or 3,000 times, I would have thought, over our years, but there's a bit of an art to it, and we do find that a lot of clients are not reviewing quotes, what we say, apples to apples, not comparing. And it's not that they're silly or anything, it's just that they don't have the experience or the understanding of what is and probably what isn't included to bring those totals all fairly together, basically. So we'll give people a bit of an idea about that. As how you going today, buddy? You good?
Yeah, good, mate. Going real well. Yeah, you're right. The old comparison, I feel at the moment, there's a lot of that going on too. Like, I feel like I've never had to compare so many quotes. I'm helping my team out a lot doing that. And, it's always interesting to sort of see the end outcome because often people are either just comparing a floor plan or they're comparing the price, but they're not comparing, as you say, apples to apples. So, hopefully this episode will help you identify the things you need to look at so that you can, understand what are you really getting. And that's probably the end outcome is what are you really getting and what is it that you really want? What's important to you? We often talk about, the wants and the needs. This is part of that process also really is to make sure that your wants and needs are covered. And if you've got both covered, fantastic. But if you're short on some with a builder, but you're getting them with another, well, it probably leans your decision towards that builder, or it could be sheer price, in which case, in the end, someone will probably be cheaper than the other. So,
Yeah.
It's you deciding at that point what's the best. It's like a recipe, isn't it? It's like putting the eggs in and the flour in and coming up and baking up a cake, which is the cake you'd rather bake, which is the home you'd rather live in. So.
True, and you just gave a pretty good example before we hit the record button of a Jetstar and a Qantas, and there's nothing wrong with either. That they service different markets and they're priced accordingly. So one includes all the goodies and costs a bit more, and for people who like, I'm happy to bring my own lunch or things like that, they go, I'll save some money on the flight. So neither are wrong. And that's what this is about, is trying to get you to understand what's right for you and give you guys the tools to review these as best you can. So as far as the part of the process we're talking about, so let's assume you've been out there, you've done the fun stuff, you've done what we call perception mode, seen the pretty things, and now you're ready to move into the reality mode. And that's where you're sitting down with builders, you're seeking some quotes based on the plans and the sizes and the budget that you've got pre-established from a finance broker. That's the part we're talking about. So when you're getting into that nitty-gritty, getting one or two or three quotes, this is what you generally can do next. Okay, so I suppose number one, Darren, truth be told, if you want to compare quotes properly, just give it to the builder's sales consultant and they'll do it for you. That's their job. They want to win the sale, of course. So they'll be more than happy to compare their quote against, another two or three that you've got. They'll also be far more experienced. You can't really lie or anything. Like, there's no deception of that. It will absolutely and transparently be presented in terms of, well, this is what we've got and this is what they've got. And it's not about throwing anyone under a bus or anything like that. It's common practice for us to review quotes, Darren, to help people understand what they are missing, what they're getting, or somewhere in the middle, isn't it? So.
Yeah, absolutely. And at that point, they've already got their quote. You're going to have to share the full quote and the other bits and pieces with that other builder's rep, so they know what they're actually comparing. So, and sometimes you can do both sides. To be fair, you play them off a bit. And that they'll come up with should come up with the same answers. But again, it'll just highlight some of the deficiencies there, and it's not trying to find that last item, the very last item. Sometimes it's difficult, and it can be just missed, and that's not, like you say, I don't think they're trying to be deceptive. Sometimes it's difficult because that builder's used to reading their own quote, and now they've got a quote from another builder and it's written in a different way and it's got, 1,000 other things in it. And you're like, I
Yeah.
think it's there, or I don't think they're including it, but I don't actually know. And so there may still be a couple of assumptions made at the end, but at least it's going to be pretty close.
I think there's always a few assumptions and question marks because the
Yeah, yeah,
detailed
yeah.
inclusions sometimes don't even get down to that nitty gritty, or that can happen. So what we'll do is we'll cover basically three core components to educate you on when you're looking at quotes. You've got them on the kitchen table. This is what will help you if you want to do it yourself. So I'll kick off the first one. So the best place to start, it's really in no apparent order, but this is the way I've done it personally, historically, is looking at the base price, the floor plan, and the standard inclusions combined. So just to understand, the base price represents the standard inclusions that builder provides. Okay, it doesn't include things like site costs usually, but every builder will have a floor plan. Let's say it's a 22 square, it's a 4 bed design with 2 living and a double garage, and it's got an alfresco. It's a very common requested sort of plan, Daz. So what you
Absolutely.
want to do first and foremost is make sure the designs that you're getting through each builder and their quote are actually relative to one another. Quite often we see quotes that are 1 or 2 squares different, and the client's like, "Oh, you're so much more expensive," and we're saying, "But they're a whole square smaller than what we are." So that does matter. Base prices will obviously be reflected upon the size of the house as well. Okay, so number one, floor plan size needs to be comparable. If it's not, you need to work out the square meter rate roughly and essentially account for that difference. It
On
is a
that
bit more.
note,
Yeah.
you're probably talking around on a single story, around, let's say, ballpark $1,400 to $1,600 per square meter.
Yeah.
So if you're one square, which is 9.29 square meters, smaller or bigger, whichever way it swings, that could be, it's nearly 10 square meters. That could be 15 grand difference in price there alone. So, that's why it's so important to make sure you're comparing size for size. Even half a square, 5 square meters bigger, $7,500 more expensive or less expensive because of the differences in house size. So,
Yeah.
it is a really important part of the puzzle.
Relative to their inclusion. So,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
correct.
So to keep it really simple, review plan, yes. Review the base price, yes. And what you want to do is you want to go through the standard inclusions, or otherwise known as specification list. The best way to do that, we've all got our formats, is if you're a pen and paper person, great. If you're an Excel spreadsheet person, great. Pop down the inclusions in a dot point format, nice and simple. So detailed inclusions are quite difficult to read sometimes, so just get the simple stuff. What are the ceiling heights? Do they have flooring? Yes or no? Are they Caesar stone bench tops? Yes or no, etc. Don't worry about promotion, site costs, or anything at that point. Just go through their detailed inclusions list or specification document and initially dot down and document the items that are included in their specification, and then go to the next builder, do the same thing. And there'll be changes between them. Don't worry about that part at the moment, because what you'll do later is, if it's not covered in a promotion, is you will then add the price in as a guesstimate of what is in there. Okay, so that's probably the first thing, Darren, in terms of base price comparison. Um,
Absolutely.
what are some examples, Darren, of the things? So if anyone's writing this down, let's just quickly jet through some examples of what you might look out for.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess internally, you'd look at things like floor coverings, ceiling heights, downlights, cooling, what sort of cooling is included, evaporative or split systems or full refrigerator to the home, cabinet to the laundry. Is it a metal one? Is it a built in? Is it even a plastic one? What does that look like? In your kitchen, we're talking ensuite bathroom areas. We're talking about bench tops. What sort of bench tops are you getting? Is it a stone bench top? what sort. And again, even that can vary. So you could end up with a Caesar stone type bench top, but you could also end up with a ceramic. What's the other one called there? Like a Decton, for example, that's a much denser, more higher quality bench top. Overhead cupboards in your kitchen, are they included or not? Dishwasher, in your bathrooms, things like towel rails, toilet roll holders, privacy glass to en suites and bathrooms, even things like the little privacy locks, are they included? External items, um, the choice of facades, what's your facade look like compared to the other builder? Brick above windows, brick above the garage, those sort of items. Fly screens. One I'm seeing a lot of builders have taken out of late is window locks, being removed out of a lot of builders' quotes. And again, it's such a small upgrade,
Really?
but it's you end up paying for that. External lighting like floodlights and stuff like that, remotes to garage, is BAL required, and what we mean there is the bushfire attack level compliance required, and the upgrades associated around that. And sometimes it's included by the builder, other times it's not. Um, Turnkey items, I guess things like front and rear landscaping, fences and a gate, driveway and path, letterbox and clothesline, blinds throughout. The other one that I often find is worth considering is the slab of your al fresco or outdoor room structural concrete, or is it just a concrete slab poured over the top? Because again, different levels of quality of the end product when that's the case. So you want to consider all those sorts of items, but you've also got to read your whole way down through that quote to see if there's any others. So that, one builder might have included something else. They might be doing feature painted walls, or they might be, doing other things to upgrade that home. Just make sure you're comparing apples to apples, so you know what you're getting, not
Yeah.
discounting one as not really costing anything, because there is a cost. And therefore you want to sort of associate a cost to that if necessary as you're doing that. I guess the other one, Colin, is site costs. And you mentioned that earlier. These represent the preparation and foundation of your home. Again, site costs will vary builder to builder. Ideally, where possible, and it's not always possible, my advice would be if the builder's okay to fix those site costs, get fixed site costs, right? So that you have some peace of mind. Not all times will builders be able to, or some builders just don't do that without enough information. So, but ask the question, right? Ideally, you want fixed site costs. I guess the full site cost is rarely covered in the base house price of the home. So it'd be very rare that the base house price includes that. Usually it's priced separately because blocks vary. You can be on one block that's flat as a tack, 100 mil of fall over it, no fill, magnificent block. And you've got another block that's got a metre of fall on 2 metres of fill, and that's got its own challenges and going to cost more. So hence why they vary. And the site costs will vary accordingly. Some of the other things to consider in that list earlier, I did forget, was double glazing. What does that look like? Do you have a ramp in your garage around the new N60 requirements, or have you got a flat slab? So again, just things of consideration. Back onto your site costs. So when reviewing the quote, you want to confirm that the site costs are fixed, as we said. Does it include rock removal? And if it's not included, understand what are the exclusions that you're going to miss out on there. Things like angle of repose, so how close to the easement you're building. We've touched on that in previous episodes. Another one that's common these days is a sewer tie cutback, which is that the connection point for the sewer is too close to the home because you're building the house over the majority of your block. And there's a cost to relocate that. Again, builder to builder can vary in cost, could be anywhere between $2,000 to $5,000. So again, understanding what that's going to look like. I guess don't judge your quote based on the site costs alone, because the standard inclusions vary builder to builder. So one builder may include H-class slab in their base price, and therefore you'd expect their base price to be slightly more expensive. Another builder may include M-class slabs. So again, their base price is cheaper, but generally their site costs will be more expensive. You're comparing the end price and the end inclusions, not the starting price and the starting inclusion. So again, it's a bit, Cole, I know I've watched you talk about it a lot over the years, is why do people ask what the base price is? It's kind of irrelevant. It's the end price that matters, right? So, I know you used to always say, how much do I need to add on to the base price to get a rough idea of what's really going to cost me to build that home? So I think that's really important. I think that sort of covers everything there, mate. I don't know if there's any I've missed. Feel free to jump in.
Yep.
Um, did I miss any there, Cole?
No, I don't think so. The goal for this episode is to keep it a bit shorter and a little bit more on in terms of summary and snapshot components. But we have, for anyone who's more interested in the detail, we have separate episodes already recorded on all this stuff. If you want to get in the nitty gritty of what a base price is and what it includes, we have a full episode on it. If you want to get in the nitty gritty of site costs and how different site costs work for different builders and things like that, we've got an episode on it. And the next one to lean into is promotions.
Absolutely.
We've also got I think it was called a Secret Insights or something into promotions episode, Darren, that we did. And that's where we break down stuff that you won't hear from a sales consultant. We're telling you how promotions work, how builders strategically structure their pricing. Okay, so you can go and watch or listen to that episode. But moving into promotions in terms of a bit more of a snapshot, without doubt, I think, Darren, the most difficult part to compare when reviewing quotes is promotion, because it's pay 10, get 30, got a discount over here, you got this over there, you got items in this one that are not in that one. It's quite difficult to bring everything up to level or get them to a point where it is apples to apples. So as I said, we've got an episode on that, but let's probably get down to the principle. I guess the principal way to compare promotional offerings is just to make sure that you account for what's being included in one quote in all the others. So if you've got a promotion that has items like, I don't know, let's say a kitchen and electrical pack, and in the electrical pack is an alarm system, right? Not a very common request as an alarm system, but if there is one quote with an alarm system, you have to go and allow maybe $1,400 or $1,500 in the other two quotes that don't have it, and just put plus 1,500 plus 1,500. You have to have some guesstimation in there. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes. That means that all quotes will be equal as, I guess, as equal as possible. Hopefully that makes sense. So um, the 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 best example I can give, to be honest, Darren, is what we do is the turnkey turnkey inclusions. That is things like landscaping to the front and the back, the fencing, clothesline, letterbox, etc. The majority of builders do a build only quote. And quite often, Darren, when we review quotes, the client doesn't even consider that we're putting in 15 to 20K worth of, external items that they don't need to worry about. So
Yeah.
you've got to make sure apples to apples that it is comparable. So if you've got one quote that has no turnkey items and one that has turnkey items, you have to put 15 to 20K, bang, straight on the first one as well, just to account for that. You've also got to account for things that are not necessarily monetary, right? So if you move into your house or hand over your house, whether you're going to move in or be it's investment, etc., the time, energy, and effort it takes to arrange fencing, to arrange landscaping, and all those sorts of things to be completed and quoted and all that sort of stuff, you've got to factor that in. So it's back to that, well, which is the most suitable option for me? If someone is an owner occupier and they want to do their own landscaping because they're going to have some pride in doing that themselves and things like that, then don't go with a turnkey builder. It's not actually going to suit you. So if you're doing an investment or a first home or whatever, you should go with turnkey builder, really. I mean, why would you bother about all the headaches of doing that stuff later? Unless you're really tight on budget and you've just gone, I'm going to have to do that. And that needs and wants list has come out where you're like, I'm going to have to do landscaping myself. I'll find a way to save up the money in between now and when that house is completed, right? So again, it all does come down to your own circumstances. But when it comes to promotions, there are so many confusing types. So free site costs, free this, discount on the house, massive premium upgrade, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. The simple way, or the most effective way, is to itemize what's included in one builder's. Get how much that's costing you. So if it's costing you $10,000, great. And then what you need to do is pop all those items in the next quote and have guesstimations of what that'll be if they're not already covered. That'll get you the closest way, Darren, to some form of apples to apples. And again, this is why we're saying it's perhaps best to go to a builder and say, here's two
Yeah,
quotes,
let them do it.
let them do it. It's, I don't know, maybe another analogy might be if you go to 5 banks and ask for, all the details in terms of what loan you can get, I mean, that would be a nightmare to actually review and analyze as to what you are and are not getting. Um, you might as well just go to a broker who can just go, bang, here's the right option for you, because they're
Yeah,
experienced at that. And this is really, I guess, the same principle. Let the consultant do it. It won't cost you any money. Like, just let it happen, get the cliff notes from the consultant, and then make the right decision. And please don't make it based on the price. Make it based on what's right for you. That's most important.
absolutely. No, well covered, mate. Well covered. I think the other bit I was just thinking in my head as you're talking about that is, sometimes builders will have more than one promotion in market. Let me tell you, the builders reps worked out which is the best value, and they'll be giving you the best value on.
That doesn't sound like
Guaranteed.
salespeople. No.
Guaranteed, right? They
Yeah.
never miss which is the best value one.
Yeah.
It'll come at the cost of the builder, but they know that's going to be the best deal for you. So, put a lot of trust in them there because they will
Yeah.
every time give you the best value option to suit your needs. So, yeah,
It's funny you mentioned that, Darren, because that's actually something I haven't dealt with that for a while, but something we used to deal with a bit. So just for people's understanding, because our industry has a habit of, like, our display homes are so upgraded that people don't know what they're getting as standard. So it does establish, subconsciously this I can't trust them mentality. So when someone's doing a quote, most people are thinking, people talk about, oh, what are the hidden costs? What are you not telling me? What, all the negative stuff, which I understand. But when you go buy real estate, a real estate agent is there. They represent the vendor, the person selling the house. You're just one of the people coming in to put an offer to buy it, right? So their goal is to get the vendor the highest price, not you the cheapest one. That's real estate. In new
yeah,
home building, that's already pre-established. There's no vendor. The price is that house, that base price, and the builder, depending on how many jobs they've got, or on a whole range of factors, will make the decision to give the sales team a better promotion this month than last, or which is not that common, to be honest, because over the time things don't actually go down; they generally go up. The point
absolutely.
of what Darren's trying to make is your sales consultant will, there's no benefit for them just to load $5,000 into your quote. It doesn't change what they get paid. It doesn't change anything. So their goal is actually to give you the best quote within the rules of what the builder and the format and the structure of what the builder's given them. They're the base prices. That's the promotion we got on offer till the end of the month, etc. They will navigate through that and give you the best possible price and promotion and inclusions and whatever they can, because that's their job. Okay, it's not like they're trying to hide more money in for the vendor. It's not how it works. Okay, so
Yeah,
please understand that's their mission, to get you the
yeah,
best quote they
they're going to
can.
give you the best deal. They're
Yeah.
going to give you the best deal because they want the sale. I guess other items to consider, would be council requirements, and again, um, that might include things such as an infrastructure levy. So if you've already paid the infrastructure levy, but one builder knows that and the other builder doesn't, one quote might have it in there and the other one does not. So again, making sure you're comparing those. Facade choice, and again, it can be hard to find the right answer in that. If I talk about a double story, you might have one that has a balcony and one that doesn't, but you might like both of them equally, either the one with or the one without. So the one with a balcony generally you would think would be more expensive, but you're happy with that. So how do you compare? And you're not happy with any of the other builders' facades, but that facade is more expensive. So again, doesn't allow for the true apples for apples. We mentioned the BAL earlier, the bushfire attack level. If it's required, there is a government website you can go to and check that to make sure that you've got that. Whether you are or aren't in bushfire designated area. It's called Vic Plan. So if you type in Vic Plan into Google, you'll find that website. And again, if it's included by one builder and not the other, the difference could be $4,000 to $8,000. And again, builders charge different amounts. So I just did a comparison just the other day, and one builder was 4 and one builder was 8K. So for the same items, basically. So again, depends on what they're including as standards, how they come across that. Estate covenants is one that so render, eaves, brickwork above the garage, and windows facing the street, water tanks, connection to recycled water. You want to make sure again that both builders have included them. Again, sometimes people just make a mistake and they miss it. So one builder's got it, the other builder doesn't. Could be also that one builder thought you needed it, and then reality is you don't. So it's just lining those things up and asking more questions. Upgrade, or structural changes can also impact the cost. So again, weighing what that looks like. You might be trying to get some structural changes to get one build to look a lot like the other, and therefore there's more cost in doing that. Price protection period. So how long are they going to hold their base price for if the land's untitled? But the reverse of that also, if it is titled, is there any better deal out there? Are they offering a discount, or, can they help you out a little bit because they can start the build a little bit quicker? So there's some of those, mate. Yep. But to wrap up, how do you finalise all that, I guess?
I think, as we always say, and we've said, go to a consultant, let them review. We've said that, we'll cover that, won't go again. But I think ultimately the best lesson you can get once you're comparing all these quotes and builders, etc., is choose the right builder for you. Okay, so listen to family and friends and Uncle Gary we refer to. Like, take the views with a grain of salt. Like, they're not necessarily right, they're not necessarily wrong. We're saying don't let Uncle Gary, don't let a price difference of 10 grand, don't let one significant factor from someone else decide who you choose. Choose who's right for you. You know which builder you're feeling is the one for you. You know which plan is the right one for you. That's probably our best advice, Darren, is like, over the course of a loan, 10, 15 grand is not going to make any dent. So please just do that. Don't just pick the cheapest, because, as we've covered, it's not necessarily going to end that well. And you don't feel that pain now because you're only looking at the cheapest price. You feel that pain later after you've lived in the house for a month or a year, and you're having to repair stuff, and you're walking through it, and you just feel that it's a little cheaper because you're like, well, I cut some corners in terms of getting price. So the builder had to cut some corners, not in terms of compliance or buildability. I mean, they had to pay the cheaper trades to get the job done rather than the ones that are a little bit better. Like, it's only common sense. So I would say the best advice: make the right decision for you and your partner if you're building together. Don't let someone else influence that decision.
Yep. For sure. Fantastic, mate.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. If you like what you're listening to, then please jump on. 5-star review would be lovely on the platform you're on. Please also, if you've got questions, topic ideas, or any feedback, any quotes you want us to review, we're happy to do that too. It is hello@homebuildinghub.com.au. Until then, I guess we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the Home Building Hub. As part of the podcast, we have to be a little careful to cover ourselves on a legal standpoint. So we do have a disclaimer. Whilst we're all about providing value to you, this podcast should not be considered legal or financial advice. It does contain general information only, and you should seek out independent professional advice on your own personal situation before you make any legal or financial decisions.
1,